Good afternoon. I'm Brigadier General Gregory Johnson, your TAG 63 for the U.S. Army. Really excited today to bring you another episode of TAG Talks. We're in Season 2 of TAG Talks, where we like to highlight some very, very important HR topics for the Army and talk through it with what we consider experts that are either here in HRC, the Human Resources Command, inside the Adjutant General Directorate or the TAG, or outside in the Army. Today's episode will revolve around the NCO Evaluation Board, which I find a very, very important topic for our NCOs, but broadly for the Army and our readiness inside of the Army. And it's talked about a lot, obviously, because it's a promotion evaluation board, but also, what does it really mean? You know, I said promotion, but we'll get into that. We'll get into a talk about what this is, why does it matter, and what are some of the changes that we've seen over the last several years to get us to the NCO Evaluation Board. But today with me are really the experts on the topic. The first is Sergeant Major Boyd, who's our acting TAG Sergeant Major right now, but he's been the Chief of Enlisted Promotions for quite a while, so very happy to have him here to talk through this topic with us. And then also Master Sgt. Little, who's our DA Sec Sergeant Major, who's intimately involved with the NCO Evaluation Board process, but also in that role as the DA Sec Sergeant Major oversees the execution of these boards for the Army. So gentlemen, hey, welcome here this afternoon. And Sergeant Major, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into talking about the NCO Evaluation Board.
Hey, sir, thanks for that great and wonderful introduction, and I'm excited to be here. It's been a great opportunity and it's been a lot of fun over the last 16 months. As we're expanding upon the evaluation board within the United States Army and some of the things that we're doing it for, I look forward to being able to answer a lot of the questions and hopefully be able to pass some very good information out to the soldiers out there in the field. Yeah,
thanks. Thanks for being with us, Sergeant Major. And Master Sgt. Little.
Sir, thank you. Master Sgt. David Little, DA Sec Sergeant Major. Very happy to be here. Been the DA Sec Sergeant Major for about 90 days, learning how these evaluation boards help the Army's readiness and professional development. Really looking forward to helping any formation, any soldier out there that can use these tools, assets, and ideals that we have to better their formations and make their soldiers and NCOs more prepared for evaluation boards.
Yeah, awesome. And thanks for being here and taking the time today. For those out there listening, we're all stationed here at the Human Resources Command in Kentucky at Fort Knox. So we come in every day and focus on this topic, as well as many other promotions and HR topics that are related to HRC and the TAG. This one is near and dear to our hearts, though. Big change in 2019 really drove us to the NCO Evaluation Board process. And it's a lot about readiness. It's a lot about professionalism in the NCO Corps. It's a lot about leader development, and then obviously just bettering ourselves for the future fight to produce the best NCOs at grade that we can. That's really the bottom line why we transitioned to this. But broad topics, Sergeant Major, maybe you can add to that. Hey, why did the Army move in this direction to execute evaluation boards versus what's considered, the past promotion boards?
Absolutely, sir. So that transition was vital. The old school process, the promotion selection list and process, it stood in existence for about 50 years before we changed to our current evaluation board process. It was very beneficial for a lot of things, but there were some things that we noticed that we could improve on. While we would decrease the Army and we would hold promotion boards, we would realize that, hey, through the reduction of the Army, we've guaranteed specific promotions and we created an imbalance. In retrospect, when we increased the Army, we've already conducted promotion boards, and we may not have enough that we need for specific MOSs and grades. For a long time, soldiers would always ask, hey, if I didn't make the promotion selection list, where was I? Where was I compared to my peers? Where did I fall? Did I barely miss it? What am I not doing right? Can I get a little more feedback to that process? We wanted to also be able to identify the right soldier to go fill the right assignment at the right time to improve the readiness, that professional development, that leader development, and the overall professionalism of the NCO Corps. Those are the major factors that contributed to us changing and going into the evaluation board process.
Yeah, it's big. It's a big move from my perspective if I sit back and look at it. You know, I'm about 90 days into the job here and really getting into the nuts and bolts of some of our processes, and that's one of the things that jumps out. It's a big shift. You know, we were doing promotion boards a certain way for a long time, and you know, this is one of those exciting areas where I think we've taken a leap to modernize a bit. Just like in a lot of other areas, we're modernizing on the IPSA front, we're modernizing in some analytics work, we're consistently changing policies to really drive our readiness. It's kind of exciting, but also at the same time, right, it needs some explanation as we fully ingrain this into the force. Hence why we're doing like a tag talk today to
Yes,
talk
sir.
a little bit about, you know, how this all kind of plays out and why, and you know, what it means and why it matters to everybody. You know, Master, and I'm gonna call you Sergeant Major here pretty soon because I think we're gonna make you a Sergeant Major pretty soon. What's the importance of the boards? I know we've talked about 4 things being really kind of important. You know, maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Sure. The 4 important things that we're talking about with the evaluation boards is training, promotion, assignment, and retention. For the training piece, we want to make sure that we identify the first people that need to go to an NCO ES school because they're at the top of their population to get hopefully promoted if the requirement is there. Assignments so that we can get the right soldier into the right place at the right time. And retention. We need to make sure that soldiers remain fully qualified for retention and identify those ones that might not be fully qualified for retention and make sure that we code them correctly or do appropriate actions that we need to within the Army.
Yeah, so if I take this down a little Barney style for me, right? So then that means, hey, we're using this evaluation board to identify folks going to training, folks getting promoted, obviously, folks going to certain assignments, and then NCOs, retention of NCOs.
That is correct, sir.
Yeah, okay. So big reasons, you know, and big linkages to that readiness outcome, right? You know, using this to facilitate those 4 things. Yeah, it makes sense to me. Sergeant Major?
Absolutely, sir. That's one of the things that we definitely want to make sure that the soldiers and we drive home. Because it's not just a promotion board, you got to put your best foot forward when you're being evaluated because it feeds 4 major factors, especially with the not fully qualified for retention piece because you're going to be notified by, you know, HRC of your subjective ability to be able to stay in the United States Army. And you're going to receive a notification and you're basically put on probation to not be in that category, you know, for an extended period of time or consecutive time in the same grade. So knowing that it's not just a promotion board, you know, you want the better assignments, you want to be able to go to school at the top and go to school in time for your promotion eligibility when it comes. You're being evaluated for all of those and not just promotion.
Yeah, makes sense. And why don't you talk through this process, like the mechanics? Because you said, you know, tied to the retention piece, there's a not fully qualified, there's a not fully qualified for retention, but the flip on the top of the OML, right, most qualified, fully qualified. Maybe we level set with the whole audience and, okay, so just talk through the process and how that all plays into it. And then where we're gonna go is talk a little bit about the timing of the boards, how many boards there are, and then ultimately, hey, what's everyone supposed to do to prep for these boards? But to bring it back, Sergeant Major, why don't you just talk through the process?
So evaluation boards will be conducted every year, around the same time frame within every year. February time frame, you have the Staff Sergeant Board. The May time frame, you'll have the Master Sergeant Board. August time frame, you'll have the Sergeant Major Evaluation Board. And the November time frame, you'll have the Sergeant First Class Evaluation Board. There's also an additional board in the September time frame for our 42 Sierras. There are our special band members in one of our special bands within the Military District of Washington area as well as at West Point. The board eligibility is critical to remember and understand because it'll be announced about 120 days prior to your specific grade and board that you're sitting on. Very important information comes out of that MilPER message. It tells you the eligibility criteria, the dates, and it's vital information for soldiers to understand that. As we get to the results of the board and when the board's results are released, the big thing to remember is that there are 4 categories. There's the most qualified, which they'll be identified with the MQ based on the results. There's fully qualified. Those 2 categories our soldiers are eligible for promotion consideration. The last 2 categories of a not fully qualified and a not fully qualified for retention soldier, they're not eligible for promotion categories. The difference between the two of those is a not fully qualified for retention soldier is actually being on notice that he or she is subject to separation if they continue to find themselves falling within this category. It's imperative that soldiers update their records, go see their S1, and there are actually some key factors and things that some S1s need to do within that process, sir.
Yeah, and we're going to break it down a little bit because you just said a lot. I mean, I'm processing all of it right now. But let's go back and talk the types of the boards again. You know, and maybe talk a little bit. So the Staff Sergeant Eval Board, Sergeant First Class Eval Board, Master Sergeant, and then Command Sergeant Major, and then you said there's also the 42 Sierra as well, special one.
So thank you, sir. So the Staff Sergeant Evaluation Board, like Sergeant Major said, is conducted almost every February. There's about 25,000 soldiers that we look at for that board every year. From that board, we will find out who needs to go to school first, who remains fully qualified, and who are we looking to move into better positions throughout the Army. And it will essentially come up with a order of merit list for promotion if the requirement comes. Next, you have your Sergeant First Class Evaluation Board. This identifies for promotion to Master Sergeant if the requirements are there, attendance to the Master Leaders Course, continued service, as we've talked about, in the not fully qualified retention. Your Master Sergeant Evaluation Board, this is for attendance to the Sergeant Major's Academy, assignment decisions, and again for your not fully qualified retention. And your Command Sergeant Major Evaluation Boards. This will pick for your nominative Sergeant Major consideration, your key billets for brigade and battalion, and again, you're not fully qualified for retention population as well.
Yeah, and these are, you know, Sergeant Major, back to you, you know, these are conducted in the same time period every year, at least
correct,
what we've done up until now and where we're kind of headed.
That is correct, sir. And then one key thing about that is the dissemination of the order of merit list is a little bit different depending on what board you're looking at. If you're looking at the Staff Sergeant Evaluation Board and the Sergeant First Class Evaluation Board, their order of merit list will be released 90 days after the board is recessed. This will give HRC and other components time to rack and stack on who needs to go to school first. It'll give proponents a chance to identify people for assignments for key billets. Your Master Sergeant Evaluation Board will be released 60 days after. And this will identify who is the prime candidates to go to the Sergeant Major's Academy. The Sergeant Major and Command Sergeant Major Evaluation Board's order of merit list numbers will be released 30 days after the recess of the board.
Yeah. What was the 90-day again?
That is the Staff Sergeant and the Sergeant First Class Evaluation Board.
Yeah, I got it. So as I'm writing notes down and just thinking through the calendar, you got the Staff Sergeant Evaluation Board in February, released 90 days roughly after that board's executed. Sergeant First Class Board is in November-ish, close to November. Same thing, 90 days, the results released. The Master Sergeant Evaluation Board is held in May, 60 days target for release of that information. And then the quick one, maybe a smaller population, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, Sergeant Major, Command Sergeant Major Eval Board in August, 30 days after that released.
Yes, sir. And the key point of the 90 days is to hopefully have those top performers, the most qualified Staff Sergeant and Sergeant First Classes, already school trained by the time the order of merit list comes. So essentially they could get promoted the month after if the requirement is there for promotion.
Yeah. Sergeant Major, talk OML a little bit, and then we'll come back to the calendar and preparation and all that. So, you know, how does the OML work? That's probably the easiest way to say it.
Absolutely. So once we release the OML for that specific board, and we'll use the Sergeant First Class Evaluation Board that was just conducted and convened as an example, we'll release the results of that board via OML on or about the 20th of January. We will promote to the previous OML on 1 February, and we will start to promote from this board on 1 March. So when we release the results, we're also going to identify the last month of promotions for that board, and we will start to promote from the new one 30 days after. So that's the process within there. Requirements are what drive promotions if we're talking about from the OML from that perspective. The Army will tell us what requirements we have that exist, and then we will promote from that OML in order based on merit. There will be some soldiers at the top of an OML who may not be promotion eligible because their time in service As we went through the evaluation board, we no longer have what's called a select objective, which means if you are number one, regardless of how senior or junior you are, you will continue to maintain and be number one on that board. When your time and your availability and you meet the criteria to pin for promotion and there's a requirement exists, that is your opportunity to be promoted. Very important to understand that the OML is used. And also, your OML number never changes. For that 12 months that you receive that OML number at that board, that is your OML for the entire year, unless you are promoted or you're not promoted and you're reboarded at the next year's evaluation board.
Yeah, I think that's really critical, right? You're on the OML and you got a spot on the OML, but you still got to be eligible.
Absolutely. So there are multiple factors, flagging actions, time in service, time in grade, retirement, submission of packets, whether or not that's something that you've done. Meeting PME requirement, DLC is important under the temporary promotion process. We are using STEP in a different order, but you still have to have DLC complete. That's very important to understand. Security clearances. There are a lot of Sergeant First classes out there that don't even have an interim security clearance. In order to be a Master Sergeant in the United States Army, you must at minimum have an interim secret security clearance. So there are other factors that meet the eligibility criteria.
Yeah, that's key. Go ahead.
And sir, one key thing I want to say how awesome this new process is. Under the old process, if you were not in with that eligibility population and you would have been eligible like by 1 month, you would not have gotten seen by the board for that promotion board when it was. Now under the evaluation board, if you were eligible with any time of that next 12 months, say the 11th month of the board, you're getting seen, you're getting evaluated. So if you're doing the best that you can and you get a great OML number and the requirements there, it's right there when you're eligible, you'll get promoted. That's why this system is so much better than the old system.
Yeah, no, that's great. So, let me give you, gentlemen, a curveball. So you're on the OML, you don't meet eligibility for whatever reason. Is there some waivers involved with some of that, or how does that work?
So
out in the force?
There are no specific waivers to that, sir. Eligibility criteria in order to pin is firmly set and established. There are different options of being able to be considered or convened or looked at a board. There's waiverable or exception to policy requests for that. An example would be, hey, it says the date of birth cutoff for eligibility is set at here, and I'm 2 days older than what that criteria is. You can submit a request for an exception to have that waived to be considered for the board. Those options are available. But regarding pinning on the specific rank, you have to meet the minimum criteria in order to pin. Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
And that was greatly said by Sergeant Major. So for the pre-board, the constant communication between both sections is waivers can be done for certain eligibility criteria, how they have to be approved first.
Yeah, understand. Okay, so let's break it down then for, hey, what should S1's commanders and individual NCOs focus on? Let's start with S1s. I know we're going to do a MILPER, right? HRC and your team does a MILPER. We drop the MILPER. It kind of gives all that guidance and dates and whatnot out there. So if you're an S1, what are you telling S1s to do?
So they need to be a subject matter expert of that MILPER message. HRC does a MILPER Monday. You need to be entwined with those to pull those out. What population is considered within your formation and get it out there. They're looking to you for guidance, and you have all the HRC tools that you need to get that out to your population. Let them know what the criteria you're looking for, everything from data rank, BASD, date of birth, my board file cutoffs, NCOER submissions, complete the record, change of raters, anything like that. Use your My Board File tool at the unit. Let your command know who has validated their record, who hasn't even looked at their record, or who has looked at it but needs to make corrections, and get those soldiers in to make sure that their file is the best that it can be. Be an advocate for them.
Yeah, that's a little old school approach, right? Just make sure, everything is dressed right, you're crossing T's, dotting I's. What I like, and again, coming into this job, just looking at the timeline is, hey, if the boards are at a certain point in the year, right? This is a battle rhythm event then for a unit, S1, to know, hey, this is going to come, at these points in time during the year, and then I got to back up my prep to ensure that my NCOs in our unit, right, are prepped for the best possible board files, for the best possible chance to get selected, et cetera, and get to a high level on the OML.
Yes, sir. And sir, just to expand on a little bit of what Master Little said, it's the two additional things that soldiers really need to understand and take into consideration out there is there are no more stabs. Under the evaluation board process, they no longer exist. So missing the board by not ensuring that their administrative data is correct or ensuring that they're doing what they need to do as a soldier's responsibility will cause them to not be eligible for promotion that entire 12 months. One of the things that the soldiers can also do, and along with the S1s, is we publish a eligibility list on our HRC site directly under the My Board File tool. So when soldiers go in to certify their My Board File, they should definitely click on that list to ensure their name is on that list of eligible candidates. That's our communication to the soldier and to the S1s telling them, hey, your board file should open. If you believe that you should have a board file that should open and you don't see your name on that list and you believe you meet eligibility, you need to start telling your S1, you need to reach out to HRC to ensure, because not doing so and not being evaluated, you don't get a second chance.
I also recommend that soldiers go in and read the AAR comments from previous boards. Every board member does an AAR out to their field after a evaluation board, letting them know the key parts that they saw in the board. A lot of it is missed data, missed dates, mismatched dates, not accurate dates, stuff missing from their file, record briefs not cleaned up like they could be, and it does impact their view of how the record looks.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, all this makes sense, right? You know, you get the MILPER that gives you some parameters, right? It's coming out roughly the same time each year. You can plot this out so you can actually prepare to focus on these things discreetly at different times of the year. And then this My Board File tool just sounds really powerful. I know it's something we used to do, right? If you go back to the PSB days, if you're an HR person, you know, one of the big roles of the PSB was to make sure the units were doing these kinds of scrubs with NCOs in the footprint that was serviced by that PSB. As we went to Brigade S1-centric roles, that's now a Brigade and a Battalion S1's role, heavily influenced by that Command Sergeant Major in those units. But it sounds like that My Board File tool gives us a lot of help to the S1s to kind of think through this.
Absolutely, sir, it absolutely does. One of the things that, especially as a 42 out there in the S1, is the promotions clerk is the promotions clerk for everyone, not just junior enlisted promotions when it comes to the promotion boards. It's very important to understand that they have responsibility for all of the promotions. That includes the senior enlisted promotions. So learning how to use those My Board File tools and using those things to their advantage is critical to the success of their organization when it comes to their soldiers being able to ensure that their record is up to date and is good to go. And using that tool, it's there for you to use, and it's very important.
Yeah, and I would say you know, command and staff. That's a command and staff like topic, you know, amongst many other things. But you know, as it comes into these windows, that seems to be pretty important to use that in those windows for preparation.
And sir, I just want to let the viewers know it's not going away. We're already testing it down to DASEC with IPSA pool, with the record briefs coming in right there. Making sure that soldiers can go in there and elect their whatever they want to on their My Board file, and it will continue, and it will still be a tool for all units to use.
Yeah, really important there. Okay, so NCOs that are preparing for the board, what do they focus on? I mean, what jumps to my head is, obviously NCOERs matter, but also updating your record matters.
And making sure that I prepare my career to go along with DA PAM 600-25, whatever CMF I'm in. I need to align to what is the board members going to be looking for and what is going to make a good Sergeant First Class, Master Sergeant, or Sergeant Major course select. And I'm hitting all those blocks within there. And then yes, that my evaluation is written for the board instead of a counseling tool. That needs to be the time for that senior rater to tell each board member what I want to know about that soldier's record.
Yeah, makes sense to me. And from a commander's perspective, I always appreciated the staff laying out, hey, this is where my unit is at. How many eligible, this is how many we reviewed, this is actually went into the board file to certify the board file, and then, you know, where are we at as we come up on that final date, you know, for submission. And then also just, you know, the expectation of the one is given the key dates, right? So the Sergeant Major knows the key dates, the commander knows the key dates. That drives that whole discussion in those units. And you can do some of these checks too. I've always found, you know, even if you're in a training environment, you know, most people have access. in training environments these days.
And sir, one big plug too is ACFT data. Please update it. It's getting seen by the board starting 1 October, and it does play a factor.
Yeah, be creative. Another trick I always use too out in the field is, SRPs. So you're doing soldier readiness processing and readiness checks. We would always link this kind of records review to those events, where you're actively doing them at different times during the year. Always a good trick, to cover more ground. If you have folks updating other things like DD93s and SGLV and all that, they also can update their records, tied to upcoming board.
Absolutely.
So, okay, that's a good coverage. Now, mechanics of the board, Sergeant Major, maybe talk through, you go to the board is executed, right? There's people here at HRC and in the tag in the boardroom actually voting files, right? Then that kind of ends and the OML is built. What kind of happens coming out of that process?
Absolutely. So once everything is done with the process and the OMLs has been released to the field and the promotions branch has them, the soldiers will receive it in their ACT. The data, the results of the board will be released from the OML. You'll have 2 categories released, our MQ and fully qualified. Our NFQ and NFQR will receive an OML number. Every soldier will get it. It will be in their ACT. The soldier has the responsibility of sharing their OML number with their peers, seniors, mentors. That's the soldier's responsibility. It's not released to commands. And then from that point forward, we go into what we call promotion and OML management. Schools will start to identify soldiers to go to school at the specific marked time frame based on projections of their CMF and where soldiers are seen. Some soldiers will receive a high potential for promotion category depending on their assignment and what EMC cycles they're in. We will then manage the promotions on a monthly basis given to us by the Army based on the Army needs. Soldiers that are in a specific category that are initiated that possibly could be separated will receive their notifications. And we will continue to do that process for an extended period over the next 12 months until we have started our process for the next evaluation board.
So let's pull on the thread there for a minute. Okay, so you do the board, right? All that kind of plays out over 12 months, and then you do it again, right? New OML, right? I seem to think, I get a lot of questions, even myself, walking around about that, that the OML flips.
Absolutely. So once you receive that OML for that year, it doesn't change. But if you don't get promoted that year, you will be evaluated again, and you could have a different OML number. There's a new group of young soldiers that are coming into the population whose first time of eligibility of being boarded are going to be boarded. There are a lot of soldiers that are going to retire. There's soldiers that are going to separate, and there's soldiers that are going to obviously get promoted you will not be competing against. But the intent of the evaluation board is for you to strive to do good every single year and maintain your competitiveness. Take the hard job. Put your best foot forward. Understand that there are going to be soldiers out there that are going to be very good at what it is that they do, and you have to strive to improve yourself every single year. So you could have a change in your OML number.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just everything Sergeant Major said. You got to stay competitive in every aspect of it. PME matters. Go to try to get with honors. Take the hard job that nobody wants. Distinguish yourself from your peers, and that's what it's all about. Make sure that your senior rater numerates on your NCO AR. Anything you can that says a picture to the board members to establish yourself from somebody else is what you need to do.
Yeah, for me it's like, and great points, gentlemen. It's not a static process, right? This is continuing to move forward as we're moving forward. So if you don't get promoted within that 12 months, then you're back in reviewing for your board file, right? And you're going into the next evaluation board and getting the new OML. But we've seen lots of folks, right, still be very successful even if they're going to the next board, right, and they get on the next OML. I think that's the positive news for the folks out in the field.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely, sir.
Yeah. Okay, so we talked OML a little bit. You've talked the 4 kind of categories on the OML and then the changes as you go. I wanted to talk just briefly about the Sergeant Major course. Maybe talk a little bit about the nuances of the Sergeant Major course and then what kind of happens as you come out of the Sergeant Major course with promotion, et cetera.
Absolutely.
So the Master Sergeant Evaluation Board will give you the order of merit list to be eligible to go to the Sergeant Major's course. Once selected for the Sergeant Major's course, you will go to the Sergeant Major course. in-house or distance learning, you will be evaluated again. That will give you your promotion eligibility order and merit list. You'll get that June, the same month that you'll graduate the Sergeant Major course. You'll have that OML for the whole year, just like every other evaluation board. However, if you do not get promoted during that time, you will get evaluated again with the class that's in-house for the Sergeant Major course right now. So for me, I'm class 72. If for some reason I don't get promoted until before next June, I will be evaluated again with the population of class 73, and in June I'll get my new OML combined with them to where I rack and stack inside that order and merit list. And that will continuously go going up and down for whoever gets promoted, who doesn't, until somebody retires or gets promoted.
Yeah, again, not static.
Not static at all.
Yeah, and that's one of the larger changes of this process, right? What's kind of happening with Sergeant Majors.
Correct.
Yeah, so it's important to put it out there that, hey, this is how this is operating and this is how this works. Thanks for laying that out. So like myths, I mean, we've talked a lot. We've covered a lot of ground in 20 or so minutes just on, hey, this is what this is, how it's going, what S1s and NCO should focus on. But any myths you want to highlight and maybe dispel here on the back end of this podcast?
Sure. So from the DA-SEC's perspective is everything from membership to how we conduct the board. You're broken down into your CMF per panels for voting on the board, and your whole IPERMS is available to a board member for voting. I know the myth is that they only go back the last 5. That's only on the voter philosophy of that board member, of what they want to look for to get their vote for each board file. There is no time limit that is set for a board member. However, they do know how they have so many board files they have to get through, and generally the boards are almost a month long, so there's a little bit of time. We come in late, or we come in early, we stay late, we'll come in on the weekends if board members need to, but we want the board members to vote that first file with the same thought process as they vote the last file.
Yeah, no, that's great. The board composition is diverse and covers all the basis of who we have serving in our Army today, including the specialty that's being
Yes, sir.
Evaluated in the board process. And then I love to tell people yes, we are in the Human Resources Command, and we're in this kind of big building here in Fort Knox, Kentucky. But this is no joke. You are working on the weekends. You are running through many boards in the year that we have to get done. All one needs to do is look on the website and see how many boards we're conducting. And there are NCOs and officers tied to all of those boards executing those. It's a great mission.
Yes.
It's a super important mission, but it's also a focused mission, as you stated, Master Sergeant Little.
Yes, sir.
So, okay, any other myths that you maybe dispel?
Well, the intent of the evaluation board, especially when it comes to promotion, sir, is to be done based on merit, and that is those from top to bottom, regardless of how senior or junior you are. You will have your opportunity to be promoted in that order, regardless of where you fall on the OML. It's done that way every single month as long as requirements exist. We do not bounce around. We get that question a lot. We bounce around and the numbers are here one month and then another month they change. And that's all based on eligibility. A soldier that may be high on an OML may not be eligible for the next 6 months. And I have to skip that soldier. It's not that the soldier is being skipped because someone else at school is already complete. It's based on requirements and promotion eligibility. We get that question a lot about the process of when it comes to promoting soldiers. It is done based on merit, and we go top to bottom on every single month.
Yeah. But I can also see, why it may be a myth. It's tricky to understand from where you're sitting, out in the field. You're on an OML, but there's this requirement business that we're involved with, right? And then you don't always know everyone else that's eligible or not eligible. So I understand that. But I think from my perspective in doing an event like this, this Tag Talk today is really, let's just continue to try and level set with the field that this is a pretty decent process, and we got some great folks making it work for Army readiness and NCOs careers, et cetera, and those 4 key points, what we're doing as the reasoning of the evaluation board. Yeah, just really thank both you gentlemen for joining in today. Okay, so where can you find info? Because I know there's a ton of it. Where can you find info if you are looking for NCO Evaluation Board LPDs or information?
Absolutely, sir. So obviously we have our HRC promotion site that has a ton of information on there. S1Net is also another viable source for good information for us. We have our LPDs posted there. Reach out to the team. We conduct LPDs via Teams. We travel very often. Units request for us to come out. We are also available to do any of those. And for your S1s out there, your 42 alphas, look, I highly recommend that you ensure that you're plugged in with your G1 Sergeant Majors and your G1s within itself. There's a lot of information that they receive. And if you're on an installation and you have a G1 Sergeant Major there, it behooves you to be a part of the AGCRA and make sure that you're tuned in and plugged in with what it is that they do and the communication that they have and what they receive from HRC.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And sir, just to echo what Sergeant Major said was, yes, stay up on S1Net. We have stuff on the DA Sect on there. And don't take for granted what happened one board will happen again. Policy changes, just like anything, and a requirement might change. So stay abreast on those meal per message and the topics that are coming out. And just ask us for LPDs. We're here to help out. We want to educate the force, and we want to give everybody the opportunity to look their best for every evaluation board.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great feedback, great counsel. You know, obviously the websites, obviously S1Net. Watch for the milpers, right? I think one of the most powerful tools I've used in my career is that S1Net email coming out that shows the milpers. You know, every morning one of those things comes out. I'm looking, okay, what milpers have been dropped? And I know HRC's Monday milper is another. If you look on the Facebook, you can find, you know, what milpers have dropped also as a level setting tool for use by the field. Those two are always like center of gravity for me. Okay, now I know, you know, go ask some questions of my team. Okay, how do we go about this? The other thing I want to really underline is that, hey, we're willing to travel and plug in by teams or some other mechanism to do LPDs. And this is just about everything in the tag. Willing to do that, to really drive the understanding of the field and to support S1's commanders, command sergeant majors, and individual NCOs out there. So don't be hesitant to reach out to us. You know, I'm on the global. Sergeant Major's on the global. Master Sergeant Little's on the global. He said his first name at the beginning. You might have to rewind to listen to it again. But we're definitely willing to plug in for LPDs because it's that important. It's
Absolutely.
that important to serve you out in the field, so we get this right and continue to get it done. Parting shot, Sergeant Major, what you got?
Look, it's your career, it's your record, it's your evaluation board. It behooves you to put your best foot forward. If you don't know, ask the question. If you don't have a mentor out there and you're being evaluated, talk to your first sergeant, find your platoon sergeant, find your sergeant major, have your record looked at, request that sit down. It's your responsibility. It behooves you to be able to do that. We have a lot more tools now than what we had back in the old microfiche days, and we've come a long way with how we do evaluation boards and promotion boards. So take charge and ask the questions.
You went there on microfiche, telling our age.
Sir, first off, thank you for the opportunity, but to the listeners out there, I would just say take control of your career, get in DAPAM 600-25 within your career field, take those hard assignments, get to school, work hard at school, separate yourself from your peers, and you will succeed.
Yeah, thanks. Great words of advice and wisdom from you two. I am simply surrounded by giants here today. Very thankful, Master Sergeant Little and Sergeant Major Boyd walking us through this and talking it. Two absolute experts in what they do, and at the end of the day, they care about you. They care about soldiers. They care about taking care of our people in the Army and building readiness for the Army and delivering that for all of us. So with that, I'd like to end this Tag Talks. Really excited with the series this year. We have several topics coming towards you next. We'll talk awards. We'll talk promotion boards on the officer side. Just a plethora of things coming in the next several months. And of course, we're going to talk IPSA delivery as that comes online very, very soon for our Army. With that, I want to sign off. This is Tag 63. Thanks for being with us.